Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is an episode that you're going to want to play back and probably do so when you have a few minutes to sit down and really take some notes. Now, if you're listening on the go or in the car, it's okay. I want you to be able to hang out with me and really connect with me on this, but it is going to be something that you're going to want to hit on repeat because I'm going to share some really great tools with you that will help you position yourself to have the best year yet. And it's actually going to be a 5 step system that I do at the end of every year that helps me position myself to have a great year. And I'm going to share with you the 5 things that I do. And again, it's a busy time of year. There's a lot of stuff on the calendar. We're all looking to finish the year strong at our careers and in our businesses while we're doing a lot of planning for the new year. It's the holiday season, full of lots of activities, both professionally and personally. Lots of things to do, cooking, baking, wrapping. I get it. And I want you to enjoy the holiday season. And I want to help you and support you so that you can move into the new year with a lot of clarity. And also, I think a sense of grounding. I think that my 5 things that I do at the end of every year does that for me. It helps me take a break from some of this grind that we're in at the moment, right? And it gives me pause and it helps me to really think about what is important to me and to make some plans for what I want in the new year. And for me, feeling like I can design the year makes me feel in control. And so I want to share the 5 things I do at the end of every year. And I'm going to start with number one, which I spent a lot of time talking about on last week's episode. And we'll link that episode in the show notes in case you missed it. But my first thing that I do is I take some time to reflect. And so, what this means is that I actually schedule time with myself. And for me, the best time for me is early morning. So, I will usually, like this week, the third week of December, start to sit down early in the morning when I get up and I make my coffee and I sit in my office and, I have a little ritual. I light a candle and I do a little bit of meditating beforehand. And then I get into really thinking about the past year. And a lot of times I will pull out my calendar because that helps me to, connect with the things that happened. But it's really, I believe, a crucial step for personal growth because when you take the time to reflect at year end, it will help you celebrate your wins. It should give you an opportunity to learn from your setbacks, gain clarity, and then intentionally plan for the future. And I believe that prevents us from just drifting through life. And I think that you have the opportunity to ask yourself some great questions during this time so that you can review the highlights, the challenges, all the learnings, express some gratitude, maybe even, review things around your relationships and revisit your values so that you can be more in alignment with them. And so it's important to spend this time, not just to gain the clarity, but to set some intentions and for you to be able to pull out the information that those learnings and celebrations will give you. And I think also to process and heal. I think that this reflection time offers us a chance to find closure on difficult experiences. And we've all had difficult experiences. And for me, it's really an important time to review and let go of any negativity that might still be hanging out. So, whether you had a challenge in your career, or you had a difficult situation or misunderstanding with a friend or a loved one, I think this time to reflect will give you an opportunity to really gain closure so that you don't have to carry it into the new year. And I think that doing so will help you feel more whole or complete, and you deserve that. And so when you have this reflection time, you're going to ask yourself questions that really open up your thinking. Like, for instance, I usually ask myself, what were the 3 biggest highlights of my year? And if you want to break it down into what the 3 highlights were for you professionally and personally, that's great. And then I also just ask myself what moments made me feel most proud. Now, not only do I use my calendar for this, but I also sometimes go through the pictures on my phone. And that's a great way to revisit the highlights and celebrate the wins and revisit those great feelings you might have had at a family get together, or even just that quiet moment in your home, like for me with my grandchildren, or the vacations that we took. And that's another way that I kind of play back the year in my mind. And again, you want to ask some questions about what you felt when you revisit those pictures and what do you want to continue feeling into the new year, right? So you start to create thoughts around the new experiences that you want to have. Now, some other questions I ask myself around growth might be, again, what challenges did I overcome? How did I grow from them? What might have held me back in this past year so that I can move through that and really, I think, connect with how I handle setbacks. And then in terms of those lessons, what advice would you give yourself going forward? What were some of the most significant lessons you learned in this past year? I also take time to express some gratitude, right? So you want to continue to feel good about things that you accomplished, people that you connected with, experiences that you had, so you can express your gratitude. In the area of relationships, I do ask myself which relationships brought me joy and which may have drained my energy. And listen, relationships evolve and change. And so the relationship that once brought you joy may have felt like it drained you of some energy in this past year. And that doesn't mean that it'll continue to do so or be permanent, but I think it's important to be aware of and ask some questions around why, so that you can move forward together in a better way and maybe set different boundaries or different expectations. Because I know that when I play back the year and I have this time for reflection and I remember some things that frustrated me, it's a good reminder that the frustration probably came from the difference between what I expected and what actually happened. And so I have to just ask myself some questions around my expectations and see if there's a way to adjust that too. And so all of this is really an opportunity to align yourself more with your values, with what you want for next year, because all of this information is so important for your growth, but also for you to be able to set some intentions and gain that clarity for what you want, in our case, in 2026. So that reflection time, that takes probably I spend probably close to 2 hours doing that, and so you just have to make sure you have that time to set aside. I like to do it in one sitting because I find that as I start asking questions and moving through those different areas that I just shared with you, I sort of get on a roll and I don't want to interrupt that. So I do like to do it in one sitting. So you just have to figure out what's the right time for you. And another thing that I do during that reflection time is I take the Wheel of Life assessment, which will also link the download for you. It's always a free download that I like to give you. And we've talked about the Wheel of Life here before. And I actually have a video on YouTube that will show you how to do it if it's new to you. But the Wheel of Life is a great way for you to really take a look at your whole life and then break down into the different segments of your life and just rate or kind of score where you are at the moment and how fulfilled you feel. And that's always a great exercise. And I include that in this reflection time at the end of the year. But I do work through a Wheel of Life assessment every quarter. I do it for myself every quarter. So that may be something you want to look at in the new year too. All right. So that is my first step. Now, the second thing that I do, which will be at another time, sometimes it's the next morning, I start working on my word of the year. And I also sit down and I do this in one session. So this is something I started doing, gosh, it could be almost 20 years ago now. And it was because of something I had got an email from John Gordon. John is an author and he is a coach. And he started this whole movement around the word of the year. At least he was my first connection to it. And he's been doing it ever since. And so I also have adopted this, and it's a great practice. And I want to share this with you because I think, again, the word of the year exercise can provide you with a lot of direction for where you want to go in the new year. And I believe that, well, sometimes I was going to say when you choose your word of the year, sometimes I feel like the word chooses me. But when you really connect with your word of the year, I feel like it's been a compass for me. I believe it's a compass for my identity, my growth, my leadership. And I really grow into this next version of myself in alignment with that word. And it has always proven to be true. I'm going to give you an exercise on how you can identify your word of the year. I've really fine tuned this over the years, and I actually have created a worksheet, little workbook for you. And that is also going to be available to you as a free download. Merry, happy holidays, merry everything, and happy new year. This is my gift to you at the end of the year. So, we're going to give you an opportunity to work through this process and come up with your word of the year. Now, I'll just give you a couple of things to consider, but you do want to take advantage of this download because it's very much a framework that you can work through. This is why I told you you're going to have to play this episode again, because there's just so much great information in here that you'll want to really work on. And listen, I'll just say this too. You might be excited to do this with a friend. You might be excited to do this with your partner. You might be excited to do this with your team. So I would encourage you to share this episode right now so that you don't forget, with people that you think will benefit from it. Share the episode and create perhaps this accountability partner that can work through these 5 different things with you. So I just wanted to say that so I wouldn't forget. All right, let's go back to my second step of the process, which is choosing your word of the year. So you're going to see in this workbook that I give you a lot of questions to think about, like who are you becoming? What energy do you want to bring into the spaces you lead? What feeling do you want to be anchored in next year? What are you craving in terms of more alignment or maybe even less friction? What opportunities do you want to have? Right. So that just gets you thinking. And so you're going to see that when you find the word, it is just going to create a spark. And you're just going to know immediately that that is your word. And it's going to give you an opportunity to really step into this fuller expression of yourself. Now, I do give you a lot of different words to think about. Not that you're going to choose your word of the year only from my list. There's so many different adjectives and different verbs out there that really might come into your brainstorming, but I do start you with a curated list so that you just kind of get into that energy around brainstorming your word. And sometimes the words are spiritual, sometimes the words connect with productivity or energy, power. Maybe they even reflect like the impact you want to make or the positions that you're trying to achieve in the new year. But again, this is a process for you to identify one word that is going to resonate with you, that is going to guide you, that is going to create expansion for you. Even that's a great word. That was my word of the year. Actually, last year was expansion. But let me share with you what my word of the year will be coming into 2026. My word for the year is elevate. And I got very excited when I landed on this word. It felt perfect. And for me, I feel that the word is going to help me rise to my next level of leadership, my next level of purpose, my next level in my impact that I want to make in the world as a coach, speaker, leader. I think it's also going to help me find more joy and be purposeful around that. I then went on to create a statement around the word. And so that's another thing that I would encourage you to do is then write out a statement that helps you really express why this word is so powerful for you. And so I believe for me, this word is going to really help me understand that this is my year to rise. And for me personally, it's my year to rise, not from feeling like I have to do the grind and the hustle or force anything, but for me to just be in alignment with who I already am. For me to be in alignment with the strengths that I have, the talents that I have, my purpose. And it's my year to step into bigger rooms, to find deeper clarity, more visibility, expanded opportunities. For me, it's about I think, confidence and knowing that I have this next level of purpose, impact, and voice. So that's what's important to me. And in terms of my elevate statement, I just talked about all those things and how this was my year for upward momentum, grounded confidence, and visible expansion. So, what will be your word of the year? Now, again, this takes a little time. I think it's really fun, and I think that the first time can be a little bit overwhelming perhaps. So, don't be surprised if you feel stuck. That's why I gave you a lot of questions to ask yourself and some different word lists that you can use, and you can go online and you'll find a lot of different lists of words that will help you brainstorm what you think could be your word. And so I hope you enjoy this. And here's the key, guys. Once you choose your word, you want to keep it in front of you. And I share my word with people who are important in my life, both personally and professionally. And so you want to connect with this word. It's not just something you do and then forget about it. You want the word to create feelings for you. You want the word to embody something for you. You want the word to shape your thoughts, and your thoughts become what you do, and your actions become your results, right? So it does become a mantra for what you want in this new year. So make it visual, have it up where you're going to see it. You want to talk about it, you want to connect with it if you can every morning. And I think that you'll find that that word is going to come to life for you in a big way. So I'm excited for you to choose your word. And when you figure out your word, share it with me. I would love to know. So you can put it on our Monday Morning Mojo Facebook group, or you can send me a DM. I would love to know what your word of the year is. So enjoy that. All right, so now we're going to go into step three. Step three is where I take some time to list out my personal goals. Now, this, unlike steps one and two, I don't necessarily feel like I have to do this all in one setting because this may take some time. But I do like to have a complete idea, complete list of what my personal goals are before Christmas. So I work on it with purpose, but it might take me a little bit of time over the course of a couple mornings or in the evening. So you'll figure that process out for yourself too. But what I mean by personal goals are these are the things that I want to accomplish in the new year that are for me. And so I've already started or completed actually my professional goals or my strategic plans for my business. Now I get to think about what I want for me personally. And what I use for this as a template is actually the Wheel of Life exercise that we talked about in my first part of the process, which is in the reflection time. So I actually take the Wheel of Life now and I look at all these different areas of my life and I set some goals, things that I want to accomplish in the new year that are realistic. And actually, I use the SMART goal acronym. So I am, getting very specific, measurable, actionable, and I look at all the things that I need to do or want to do in the new year that are for me. And so some of those goals could, involve my finances. It could be investments or different things I want to accomplish financially. It could be some goals around even home development or home improvement. It could be goals around my physical health or my spiritual well being. It could be goals around fun and relationships. So that's where I think about like vacations and different things that we might want to experience. So you get the idea. So I take some time and set some solid goals, not a long list in each area of my life either, because again, I want this to be attainable and this is not meant to overwhelm you either. But I do get clear about the one or two things that I want to do in each area of my life that will really help me feel like I had a meaningful and purposeful and progressive year. And so that's what I do for the personal goals. And that's my third step in my 5 steps that I do at the end of every year. So then I have a clear picture of what I want to accomplish. I move into the fourth thing that I do at the end of every year, which is where I take some time now to think about developing my personal growth plan. So, yeah, this is work, I will say, but it's fun and I find it to be very meaningful. And I find this to be just so important because I am creating the foundation of my new year. And if I'm going to build something strong, the foundation has to be solid. And so I am already hearing somebody out there saying, "Oh gosh, Anna, it's so busy this year. It's so busy this time of year. And you want me to do all this?" Yes, I'm going to encourage you to make time for this because it will change your life. It truly will. And you're worth it. I think of all the things you're doing right now, you have to make sure that you're not forgetting to put yourself first. And for me to take the time to do this before January 1st shows up is really important because I like to know where I'm going and I like to feel like when we get to January 1, I have this blank canvas. I have this new outlook. I have this feeling of freedom. I have this sense of direction and clarity. And that can only come from putting the work in beforehand. And I don't do it before the beginning of December because I feel like I need as much experience in this current year to set me up for success when I get into these 5 things. So I hear you. I understand some of you might be feeling like, wow, this is a lot, but you're worth it. You are so worth it. So schedule time with yourself, whether it's in the mornings or in the evening, and work through these 5 things. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I shared this with you early enough in the month that you would have time to do it. Sometimes between Christmas and New Year's is a great time to work on a lot of this stuff too. So you'll figure out what's right for you. I'm just giving you ideas. But let's go back to number 4, which is the personal growth plan. So this is where I think about what I want to learn, what I want to experience, how I want to develop myself, how I want to enrich myself, and what I want to really put in my toolbox, I guess, for this new year. Now, you see how I've put some sequence to things. Like I said, I've really fine tuned this over the year because now that I've taken time to reflect and I have all these clear perspectives and I have my word of the year, which is my compass, and I've got my personal goals done because I already did my professional goals probably back in October and November. Now I have all of this groundwork done. Now I can think about what skills do I need to learn? What books do I need to read? What classes might I need to take? Do I need to develop myself somehow? Do I need to work on something about me in terms of personal development work that will help me to really evolve into the person I need to be to accomplish all those things that I have set out to do professionally and personally? For example, on my personal growth plan, maybe I have something that talks about developing my leadership. Maybe I take a course, or maybe I read a certain book, or I hire a coach, right? Those are the things that show up on my personal growth plan because it will help me grow into the highest version of myself so that I will successfully be able to meet the challenges of the things I want to be, do, and have in the new year. Now, all you need to do is get a piece of paper, and I have 12 boxes on mine. One box represents each month of the year. And you think about one, maybe 2 things that you want to do each month that will move the needle, that will help you develop the skills, that will help you learn something new. Maybe it's an experience that lines up with some of your goals around joy and fulfillment, right? So you might have to do some research because I do. I look and see like what workshops maybe I want to attend. Is there a retreat I want to go to? Is there a book I want to read? And so this takes a little time, maybe even over the course of a couple days, but then you will find that this gives you, again, a great framework for how you can grow and evolve and really, I think, see that your growth is intentional so that you can meet the needs of all the great things you want to accomplish. So, the personal growth plan, again, 1 or 2 things. You don't need to overwhelm yourself. You want it to be something realistic and attainable. And then that's what I work on each month of the year. And so, again, that has to stay visible. I'm very connected to my personal growth plan. I share it with my coach, I share it with other key people in my life. And that helps me to be accountable to the things that I say I want to do. I will also say this, your personal growth plan can be very fluid because you might learn of something later in the year that lines up with your goals, that lines up with your growth plan. And so you want to add it on there, and that's fine. Maybe you even take something off to replace that item to be able to put that in there. Because again, you don't want to feel like you have to read 3 books in a month and go to a workshop. It's not meant to be overwhelming. It's just meant to help you be intentional about growth. Because I think sometimes we think growth's just going to happen on its own, but we really have to be purposeful about it. So that's why this personal growth plan is so powerful. So that's number 4. And then finally, number 5 is where I really spend some time with my calendar. I'm very connected to my calendar. I work from it every day and I time block everything because for me, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. It's not just about organizing my time, it's really about how I become, again, intentional and how I look forward and how I start to really project how I want to use my time. So my calendar is a big part of this end of the year process because I will sit down and I will look ahead at the next 12 months and I will put as much on my calendar ahead of time as I can. And for me, it's because when there is space for something that is important to me, it means I've made a commitment to it. So in other words, I think about and sit down and talk to my husband about what vacations we want to go on and what experiences we want to have. And again, even if we're not exactly sure where we're going or when we're going, I sort of pick the month and I use that as my compass and I hone in on that and figure it out as I go. But for me, it just shows that there's a commitment to these things and that they're priorities. So I put on all the family birthdays, I put on vacations, I put on holidays, I put on different experiences we want to have. And I do use the Google Calendar that maintains my schedule and all my appointments. And I also use a paper planner. I have for years and I still do. And I do that because I like to see it in that format. I like to write in my planner. I also make notes in my planner. And maybe you can do that online or digitally too, but that's what works for me. I've been a professional now for well over 30 years. So I guess I have some habits that just stay with me. But, and I know I'm not alone because I've had this conversation with a lot of you out there. A lot of you have paper planners too. So don't judge us. But for me, it works. And I like it because I can make notes about different things I might want to look into doing during that month. And so I do spend a lot of time planning my calendar, and that gives me, I guess it gives me a sense of peace because I feel like I'm someone who really needs to see it. I'm very much a visionary. And so I like to see the big picture. And that especially is true for my time and my calendar. So I do go far out into the year and figure out as much as I can. And then, of course, continue putting things in as we go. But it's also where I might look back on some of my personal goals and my personal growth plan and get clear about when I'm going to work on those things throughout the year. So I spend a lot of time with my calendar, and that is very, I think, fulfilling for me and productive at the same time. So those are my 5 things I do at the end of every year. You might want to go through the process like I do and go through all 5. And that could be, like I said, a real game changer for you. Or you might just want to start with one and see how it goes. And that's up to you. But like I said, I've been doing this for so long and it has made such a difference in my life that I realized that it was probably worthwhile to share that with you because I think that you would find value in it too. So the 5 things I do at the end of every year: reflection time, choosing my word of the year, setting my personal goals, creating my personal growth plan, and then spending a lot of time on my calendar and really getting clear about what this next year is going to look like in terms of time and space. So those are the 5 things. So I would love to hear from you and know how you connected with this episode. And if you decide to work through my process, I definitely want to hear how you felt about it and what you got from it, because that's what this is all about. It's really about sharing content with you that will help you, that will give you tools and resources to grow you and to elevate what you're doing. So thanks so much. It has been another amazing year on the podcast. And I can't wait to get into year 3 of the podcast. And I already have some really wonderful speakers lined up for you. I have some great content planned for you. And I just love this. It is truly a joy to do this and share parts of my knowledge and connections and experiences with you. So, thanks so much. I wish you and your family a beautiful holiday season and a very happy, healthy, and prosperous new year because the next episode will not be until January of 2026. So come back and join me then. We're going to take a couple weeks off and enjoy the holiday season as well. And so please do come back. And in the meantime, share this episode. I think there are a lot of people in your world who would benefit from these 5 things too. And I appreciate you doing that because when you share the podcast and you help us grow, it just means I can bring you a lot more great conversations and free resources. So don't forget to download your workbook on how to create your word of the year. You'll have a download for the Wheel of Life and a couple other things. So that's what we love to give our listeners. So again, enjoy the holidays. Thanks so much. And I'll see you in the new year.